Who saw the moon last night? Ooh. So my little one shares my love for the moon. And when she sees the moon, she just stops and in shock and she just goes, moon, moon, moon. And last night when we got into bed, it was so bright. The window was completely lit up by the glow of the moon. And we laid in bed and we turned sideways and I propped up two little pillows like we were going to the best movie that was ever going to start, that we were in the drive-in theater getting ready to see a show. And we both lay there and looked out and you could completely see from the bottom of the window to the top, and we just watched the moon, the huge moon, and watched the clouds going by and just sat there soaking it in and soaking in the moon glow. And it was better than any movie I could bring her to. And I feel like she felt it. I feel like she really knew. It was just this delightful, peaceful moment of cherishing what is, of soaking in the moon glow. People always say to be aware and be mindful because kids grow up so fast. If you blink, you'll miss it, right? They say, cherish the moment, be present, because it just flies by and all of a sudden they're grown up. I heard that, but I never got that until becoming a mother. I never got it because I didn't get to experience what really happens. Like, you know that it happens. Life goes fast. You know, you can see it in your own life. But with a child, to be able to witness and see how every moment is entirely different, because literally they're entirely different. In like 2 seconds, something happened and they're a whole new creation, right? They're doing new things. The world is different. What you can do with them is different. Everything looks different. It's not just that you can't go out of the house after 8 o'clock at night anymore. It's that they're really new, that you're fully present to how everything changes, right? Changes in an instant, and everything's rearranged and everything's different. And what was right in front of you a moment ago is no longer there. It's not like it's lost forever, because they're still there in front of you in their new magnificence. But there's a loss because that moment is gone, right? If you have a baby or grandbaby that is now not a baby anymore, just breathe into that moment. Breathe into it and feel it. A friend of a family, like any child that you cherished, breathe into one of those past moments where you were just fully present. Can you feel that? And then it drifts away, and there are new moments. The gift is recognizing this and being able to slow down, to slow our minds down, to slow our lives down enough to cherish it, to really see it, to feel it, to show up, to watch it, to breathe it in, to soak in the moon glow of it all. Think about a time when things were really good in your life and you knew it. When things were really good and you knew it, and breathe into that. Can you feel it? We rarely get it fully and completely when we're in it. When we are in those moments, we often don't see them. We often don't feel them. They often pass us by. It's usually upon reflection that we go, those were the moments when I was living there, or when I had those people in my lives, or when the family was like this, or before I had kids, or after I had kids, or when my dad was here with me, or when this happened, or when that happened. Can you feel that? I can think about the times in my life, the different little eras The time when I had all my teacher friends and we would be together. We were really a community and we would spend a lot of time together. The times that I was at Unity of Montclair and I was just new to all of this, and just every week, every Sunday with those amazing people. What times are they for you that you cherish? That you can just breathe into, and it's like the moon glow. It's like a burst of light and love in your heart, that it just brings you to a place of peace, to a place of cherishing. Heaven on earth. Friends, can you engage in the possibility that we are in these times all of the time? That we are in these times all of the time. But usually we don't get it. Usually we miss it. It gets past us. We miss it because it's not as obvious. We miss it because it's not waking up and a baby that had to be held constantly is now walking around talking. It's not so in our face that like, hey, watch this, slow down, because it's not always going to be like this. You know, maybe it's a time in your life when everyone seemed healthy all around you, or when you felt healthy and now you're going through something. There are always things to cherish, but we don't always slow down. We don't always watch for them. We don't always breathe into them. We don't always soak in their moon glow. We tend to take it for granted. Life, time, relationships, our energy, our health. We tend not to prioritize our relationships, our time, our energy, our health. We tend to look in the other direction or get consumed by what's not going right, what's wrong, what's hard, what's falling apart, what's missing. The mind easily reverts back to those things and steals our joy, steals our peace. And we let it if we're not awake, if we're not aware, if we're not bringing back to the mind the constant conversation about how precious and how full the moment can be. You know, I was just in the grocery store the other day. It was the day of the Chiefs Parade, the parade downtown. And I was in the grocery store, and there was this guy in front of me in line, and then there was a woman that was getting into line, and I was getting to line, and she was in line ahead of me, and she had a lot in her basket, and she just looked at me, and I looked at the line, and she looked at me and said, go ahead. I had less in my basket. And I was like, oh, thank you. Not just thank you in my mind because I want to get through this faster. Thank you because I had some friends watching my little baby for a little while, right? I had about an hour and 15 minutes. And so I was on this clock going, and this was the thing this was my McCabing it, squeezing in one more thing that you really don't have time to squeeze in. So when I saw that line, I was like, ah. And the guy in front of me who just, I'm guessing, and this is a hunch, but I'm thinking he doesn't always initiate these conversations, but he just looked back and he just said, isn't Kansas City great? Like, right? Yeah, I mean, that's like something I would do in a grocery line all the time, but there's this guy, this man, and he's just like, aren't Kansas City people just wonderful? Are they just amazing? Isn't it like just... pride in where we live and good people, and feels good to be in Kansas City, feels good to be here, feels good. Go Chiefs, feels good. And I said, yes, it's beautiful. And then I went into, and you guys didn't even know, but, I have a babe, someone's watching the babe, and so I'm a little, it's even more of a gift. It's not just like, let me cut in line. It's like, thank you. And we shared this moment, but do you know what I'm talking about when you're built up, when you're in a place where you are cherishing, savoring, moon glowing, when you are filled up, when you're like, we're doing this right, Things are going well. I'm a part of something. I belong to something. We've got it. We're doing the best we can with what we have, and it feels good. Can you feel that? You know what happens? What happens is people in line say great things that feed everybody else. What happens is that instead of those days where like everyone on the road, it's like they just want to play with you, you know? It's like instead of that, you've got like, and your grace and your majesty, feel free, and this and that. But you know what I mean? It's a real thing. It's a real thing to be so fully in the present moment, to move through all of the discord to what can be there, to what is there. That's living in the kingdom, the queendom, the place, the zone that is always available, not just for moments when a mother and a daughter are singing a duet and you can just see life happening, unfolding, and you're like, wah, breathe. Not just for the moments that you get, but we can bring ourselves to those moments even when we're not getting it. I think that guy just felt inspired. I think he felt happy. I think he had extra energy because life felt good. He probably got the day off of work. If you're proud of your community, of your family, of your life, if you feel good about it, you spread that. What would it be like if we generated that kind of community, that kind of connected spirit all of the time? If people felt good and felt supported, like they were part of something amazing. Imagine that. If they felt like they were safe. It's heaven on earth when we're doing the best we can with what we have, and we have a sense of pride in what we're creating, where life is cherished and we're part of something greater. And sometimes we don't feel that, do we? Sometimes we feel like things in our lives aren't working. I think recently, for most of us, we feel like things in the outer aren't working so well. And that could be really stressful. It could be really disappointing. We feel divisiveness, and it feels like it's getting stronger. Everything that's not working is in our face, right? Everything that is fractured or missing the mark. It's like, it doesn't matter where you lie in the spectrum of how you feel about everything. You feel, right? You're feeling right now. We're feeling. But it would be a shame, wouldn't it, if we became consumed with those feelings so that we missed what was right in front of us. Like, imagine if for the first year and a half, 2 years of my little one's life, if I was so consumed by anger or disappointment of the system or what's going on or what I see in the news that I didn't get it, what was right in front of me. That would be sad. That would be letting something steal joy in error. And that's never necessary. We can still show up. We can still be active. We can still create. We can still look at what's not going right, either in our lives or in our world. We can still look at it and be fully conscious, but not be consumed by it. We can be in the world, but not of it. And in fact, it's our divine calling to do that. And we don't need to feel guilty about it. We don't need to feel guilty about cherishing a moment, because what happens if we're fully in that, we actually enter into unity consciousness. We actually enter into a field where it's like that, just like, in the grocery store example is a little one, but you know what I'm saying? Just like it ricochets, it expands, it grows, it flows out from us in a magnetic and incredible way when we are living fully present. And that means like breathing into the tears when they're there, but that also means breathing into the joys and letting that fill us up. Did you feel filled by the baby blessing this morning? Who needed that this week? Divine appointment. Can we allow ourselves to be filled? If we're not mindful, we can allow ourselves to be consumed with fear, with thoughts of the past, with thoughts of what's not going right. And there are plenty of opportunities to be in those places. But imagine if we could bring mindfulness to everything. I don't think I would be doing my job if I didn't acknowledge, what's going on in our news and in our world. Like, there is so much coming at us, right? And it's big energy. And it can be disappointing. It can be confusing. It can be overwhelming. But wouldn't it be a shame if we miss the beauty of what's in front of us because of all of it? We tend to honor life when it's new, when it's in a baby, when it's so clearly beautiful. But the practice is taking that honoring and moving it through every stage of life and standing for systems and co-creation that models that. When we start getting into that, we're talking visionary, we're talking possibilities. We're talking about being in a unity consciousness and letting from that fullness of heart, letting us create everything in that way and in that nature. When we do that as a collective, we will have a pride in showing up with our best. And the shock waves from that joy, from that peace, from cherishing that will be unprecedented. And you might say, but that's not now. That's not what it looks like in my life or in what I'm seeing right now. True. But now is the time we're creating it. All of us, everyone. Now is the time we're creating the future. We're laying the groundwork. We're digging the gravel. We're standing in the mess. We're demanding better. We're unable to ignore it, which is a good thing, because if we're unable to ignore it, we're all going to show up for it. We're all going to show up for it. And that can be cherished. The opportunity for transformation, the opportunity to be modeling heaven on earth can excite us. Not holding back. Being in this time of unprecedented possibility as an individual and as a collective. Can we cherish that? What if we did that with everyone and everything in our lives, in every stage of our lives? What if we practiced for this next decade, for 2020, this next decade, what if we practiced cherishing? Cherishing the people, cherishing the moment, cherishing the eras. What if this moment we called good enough? Not because it has everything we want in it, because it's the one we've got, it's the one we're living, and it's the one of pure potential and pure possibility. So whether it has glories or struggles or goodness or lessons and learning or suffering, we're going to squeeze the good out of it and we're going to fully show up. We're not going to ignore it. We're not going to let it pass us by. We're going to show up to our humanity, to our divinity, to our transformation, to our power of activation. We're going to let it draw us in. Let it be full. What if we remember that each moment can be gone in a blink of an eye? And actually, this is me being weird, but, we think about all these things that are not going well or could destroy us or whatever, destroy our world that we know, whether it's my own personal world or the collective world. But An asteroid could hit us at any time. Did you hear me? An asteroid could hit us at any time. Like, an asteroid could hit us. I mean, we'd all be like, ah! Here we are now in our freedom form, floating around. Life is like that, friends, isn't it? Who's been here long enough to know life is like that? Life is like that. One thing, you think, okay, I know my reality, and then boom, all of a sudden it's a different reality. Think about friendships that you had or a group of friends that you had. Think about just this makeup of UVC right here, right now. One thing shifts, and then it's into the next phase, and it's different. It's different. Don't let me miss it. Don't let me miss it, sweet spirit. Don't let me miss what I'm standing in the midst of, what's right here in front of me, what's right here with me. Don't let me miss it. Because all of life is an opportunity to miss it or to soak it in. I was in the beginning of being a mom, and I had a girlfriend from college come to town. And I remember exactly where we were. We were in the hallway with little G, and I don't know if we were changing her or what. And she must have thought that I looked like I was holding back. I must have been like kissing her or something, but just holding back. And she would grab little G, and she just smothered her with Fection. That's the title of today's conversation. And no, Fection is not an antibiotic for the coronavirus. It is affection. And she would just smother her with Fection. And she said, she's going to be a teenager sometime and she'll pull away, but right now she can't. And she was just like, And I think from that day forward, I was just like, oh, wow. And I'm so grateful for having that moment. So friends, will we take the next decade and smother it with Fection? Will we look at what's around us and who's around us and smother it with Fection and bask in its moon glow? When we do, we will activate present moment awareness. We will activate gratitude. We will activate a consciousness of an awakened now moment, and that's the moment that leads to the highest possible future. Only that, only doing that fully and completely, that practice, only that can lead to the highest possible future, because that's a state of unity consciousness, and a state of unity consciousness is magnetic, and it draws to it things that are like it. It changes minds, it changes environments. It is love itself, love as a force, as a power, and it is harmonizing, it is transformative. What do we lose if we do that? We lose FOMO, the fear of missing out. We lose missing what's right in front of us. We lose missing living in the past or the future. But we come into unity consciousness. In the words of the great poet Rumi, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. Namaste.